Picture this, a four-door sedan that looks like it belongs in a grocery store parking lot pulls up next to a Porsche 911 at a red light. The Porsche driver smirks. The light turns green. 3 seconds later, the sedan is gone and the Porsche is eating tire smoke. That's the Toyota Chaser JZX100. A Japanese sleeper so good, it's basically a street-legal cheat code, and nobody outside the JDM world even knows it exists. Here's what makes this insane. Toyota built a luxury sedan in the late 90s with the same legendary 2 JZ engine from the Supra, rear-wheel drive, and styling so boring your accountant would approve. But underneath that sensible exterior, pure chaos. We're talking about a car that came from the factory ready to embarrass BMWs, outrun muscle cars, and drift like it's nobody's business. The Chaser JZX100 is proof that sometimes the most dangerous weapon is the one nobody sees coming. So why is this four-door family sedan secretly one of the most capable performance machines Japan ever built? And why are prices exploding right now before most people even know what they're looking at? Buckle up. This is going to get wild. Let's rewind to 1996. Toyota's killing it in Japan with their luxury sedan game. They've got the Crown for executives, the Mark II for families, and sandwiched right in the middle, the Chaser. Now, the Chaser name had been around since the 70s, but the JZX100 generation that dropped in 96, that's when Toyota decided to do something absolutely ridiculous. See, most car companies build boring sedans for people who've given up on fun. They're safe, they're comfortable, they get you to work without making a scene. But Toyota? They looked at the Chaser platform and said, you know what this needs? The same engine we put in the Supra. And just like that, the JZX100 Tourer Feet was born. This wasn't some half-hearted attempt at making a sporty sedan by slapping on a body kit and calling it a day. No, Toyota legitimately built this thing to be a wolf in sheep's clothing. They gave it the one JZGTE, a 2.5-liter inline-six with a single turbo that made 280 horsepower. But here's the kicker, that 280 number. That's just what Toyota claimed because of Japan's gentleman's agreement to limit advertised horsepower. In reality, these engines were making closer to 300 to 320 from the factory, and that's before anyone touched them. The JZX100 ran from 1996 to 2001, and during that time, it became the ultimate sleeper. And it looked like a taxi. It had 4 doors, a decent trunk, comfortable seats for 5 people. Your grandmother could drive it to the grocery store and nobody would look twice. But hand the keys to someone who knows, and suddenly, this boring sedan is laying down 11s in the quarter mile and leaving sports cars for dead. And before we go any further, wait until you hear what happens when you actually modify one of these things. Because if 300 horsepower sounds good, how does 600 sound? On the stock engine, no joke, but we'll get to that. Let's talk about what made the Tourer 5 the crown jewel of the JZX100 lineup. Under that unassuming hood sits the legendary one, JZGTE, 2.5 liters inline 6, single turbo, and an engine note that sounds like angry thunder wrapped in silk. Toyota rated it at 280 horsepower and 268 pound-feet of torque. But as we said, that's conservative Japanese humility talking. That power went through either a 5-speed manual, which is the one you want if you have a soul, or a 4-speed automatic for those who prioritize comfort over fun. And here's where it gets interesting. Rear-wheel drive. Not front-wheel drive like most family sedans, not all-wheel drive like the Skylines. Pure, unadulterated, tire-shredding rear-wheel drive. 0 to 60, about 5.8 seconds stock. That might not sound mind-blowing in 2026, but remember, this is a 4-door sedan from 1996 that weighs around 3,300 pounds. It was keeping pace with E36 BMW M3s, destroying Mustang GTs, and doing it all while looking like it should be dropping kids off at soccer practice. The chassis was no joke either. Toyota gave it a fully independent suspension, 4-wheel disc brakes, and a surprisingly well-balanced weight distribution. This wasn't built to just go fast in a straight line, although it absolutely could. It was engineered to handle. The steering was direct, the chassis was rigid, and the whole package just felt planted and confident. And here's something people forget: build quality. This is a Toyota from the peak of Japanese manufacturing excellence. The interior might look dated now with its 90s plastics and cloth seats, but everything worked, everything lasted. You could beat on these cars, drift them, drag race them, and they'd start up the next morning ready for more. Now, if you think 280 horsepower is where the story ends, you clearly haven't met the JDM tuning community, because what Toyota built was impressive. What enthusiasts turned it into, that's where legends are born. Here's where the Chaser goes from cool sleeper to absolute monster. That one JZ GTE engine, it's basically bulletproof. And by bulletproof, I mean people are regularly making 500, 600, even 700 horsepower on completely stock internals. No forged pistons, no built block, just bolt-ons, a bigger turbo, and a proper tune. Start simple: exhaust, intake, intercooler upgrade, and an ECU tune. Boom, you're at 400 horsepower without breaking a sweat. Want more? Slap on a bigger single turbo, something like a Garrett GT35 or HKS GT3037, and you're knocking on 500 to 600 horsepower, still on the stock block, still reliable, enough to daily drive. And if you really want to get crazy, the one JZ shares so much DNA with the 2JZ from the Supra that parts are everywhere. You can go full send with a built motor, massive turbos, upgraded fuel system, and suddenly you're making 4-digit horsepower. There are Chasers out there with over 1,000 horsepower that still look completely stock from the outside. Imagine pulling up to a gas station, filling up next to a Ferrari, and knowing you could absolutely gap it without even trying. The aftermarket support is insane. You want coilovers? Tane, BC Racing, HKS, take your pick. Wider wheels? Work, Rays, NK. They all make fitments specifically for the JZX100. Brakes? Brembo kits? Bolt right on. Body kits? From subtle lip spoilers to full wide body conversions, the sky's the limit. But here's the best part: even if you keep it modest, even if you just do a few bolt-ons and stop at 350 horsepower, you've got a car that'll destroy Mustang GTs, embarrass modern hot hatches, and keep up with cars that cost 3 times as much, all while flying completely under the radar. Hold on though, because there's a dark side to this car that nobody talks about. And if you're thinking about buying one, you absolutely need to know this before you drop your cash. Let's be real for a second. The JZX100 isn't perfect, and if you go in blind, it can bite you hard. First up, availability. These cars were never sold in the United States. Never. They're Japan only, which means you're looking at importing one, dealing with the 25-year rule, finding a reputable importer, and praying the car you bought, sight unseen from across the ocean, isn't a rust bucket held together with zip ties and hope. And speaking of rust, oh boy, Japanese cars from this era, especially ones that lived in snowy regions where they salt the roads, can be absolutely eaten alive by rust. You need to thoroughly inspect the chassis, the subframe, the floor pans. A cheap Chaser might look great in photos, but when it arrives and you get it on a lift, you could be staring at Swiss cheese. Then there's the parts situation. Yes, there's tons of aftermarket support for performance parts, but OEM replacement parts, interior trim pieces, weird sensors that break, those can be hard to find and expensive to ship from Japan. And good luck finding a local mechanic who knows what a Chaser is, let alone how to work on one. You're either doing the work yourself or finding a specialist shop that charges accordingly. The automatic transmission in these cars is also kind of weak. It's fine for stock power and cruising, but if you're making serious power, you either need to baby it, swap in a manual, or upgrade to a built auto. The manual gearboxes are tough, but finding one in good condition, that's getting harder every year. And let's talk about the elephant in the room. Prices are skyrocketing. 5 years ago, you could import a clean JZX100 Tourer 5 for maybe $15,000 to $18,000 all in. Today, you're looking at $30,000 to $40,000 for a decent one. Clean, low mileage examples with manuals are pushing $50,000. The secret's out, and the market is reacting accordingly. But here's the thing. Even with all those challenges, even with the rising prices and the import headaches, there's a reason people are scrambling to get their hands on these cars. And it's not just nostalgia. Driving a JZX100 Chaser is unlike anything else. It's this weird, addictive blend of luxury and violence. You sit in a comfortable cloth seat, surrounded by wood grain trim and soft touch plastics. The ride is smooth. The cabin is quiet. You could be driving your mom to brunch. Then you mat the throttle. The turbo spools with that signature 1JZ whistle, the rear end squats, and suddenly you're pinned to your seat as this family sedan transforms into a rear-wheel drive missile. The exhaust note is intoxicating, deep, smooth, and menacing all at once. It's not the screaming banshee sound of a high-revving Honda. It's more like a controlled roar, all torque and turbocharged fury. The chassis balance is incredible. Because the engine sits behind the front axle, you get this near-perfect weight distribution that makes the car feel nimble despite its size. Turn-in is sharp. The steering communicates exactly what the front wheels are doing, and when you get on the power mid-corner, you can feel the rear end start to step out in this progressive, controllable way that just begs you to get sideways. And that's the thing, this car loves to drift. It was basically designed for it. Long wheelbase for stability, rear-wheel drive for fun, and enough power to keep the tires spinning through multiple gears. It's no coincidence that the JZX100 became a drift legend in Japan and around the world. But it's not a one-trick pony. You can drive it to work, you can cruise on the highway, you can take a road trip. The dual personality is what makes it special. It's a car that doesn't demand attention but delivers excitement whenever you want it. The Chaser JZX100 never got the fame it deserved. While everyone was obsessing over Skylines and Supras, the Chaser was the underdog doing the same thing for less money and with more practicality. It proved that you didn't need a two-door sports car to have serious performance. You didn't need flashy looks to go fast. Sometimes the best weapon is the one nobody expects. Today, it's achieving cult status. The drift community worships it, tuners respect it, collectors are scrambling to preserve clean examples before they're all modified or destroyed, and enthusiasts who grew up playing Gran Turismo and Tokyo Extreme Racer are finally old enough and financially stable enough to import their dream cars. The Chaser paved the way for modern sports sedans. It showed that luxury and performance could coexist in a practical package. Cars like the Dodge Charger Hellcat, the Cadillac CT4V Blackwing, even the BMW M3. They all owe something to the philosophy Toyota perfected with the JZX100. So is the Toyota Chaser JZX100 the ultimate JDM sleeper? Absolutely. It's a car that looks like a tax accountant's daily driver but hides the heart of a street racer. It's comfortable enough for your commute and fast enough to gap supercars. It's practical, it's reliable, and with basic mods, it's downright terrifying. The prices are going up, the clean examples are disappearing, and the secret is spreading fast. If you've ever wanted a true JDM legend, a car that can do it all without screaming for attention, this is it. The Chaser isn't just a sleeper, it's a statement. A middle finger to anyone who thinks you need a flashy sports car to have fun. What do you think? Is the JZX100 the most underrated JDM car ever? Or are there other sleepers that deserve the crown? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into Japanese automotive excellence, smash that like button, subscribe for more hidden gem car content, and hit the bell so you don't miss when we uncover the next legend everyone's sleeping on. Because trust me, we're just getting started. See you in the next one.